Hello, and welcome to Answering the Call with Dedication and Service, a special program interviewing members of our Medicinet Fire Service. I'm Jason Labash, an active member of the Fire Service. With me is Lieutenant Scott Berg, a member of the Fire Service for 13 years. Today we'll be talking about the new hires. Scott, it's great to have you on the program.
Thanks, Jason. Great to be here.
Scott, why did you want to become a firefighter?
I wanted to become a firefighter. My best friend was working in northern Alberta in the oil industry, and he was volunteering as a firefighter on his off time. And when I would go visit him or phone him, he would tell me some of his experiences and exposures that he had as a firefighter, and it really interested me, something I thought I'd really enjoy doing.
When did you become a firefighter? And was it your friend who helped you make the decision on firefighting as a career?
I think him being a volunteer and what he was telling me was definitely what made me decide to pursue this career. And I first became a paid professional firefighter in June of 2004. I worked for the CFB Suffield with the Department of National Defense. And then I got hired with the City of Medicine Hat in November of 2004, 5 months later.
Congratulations. When you were in college, what were some of the things that you were surprised to learn?
I was surprised that we had to walk before we ran, that firefighting wasn't just about putting water on fire. We had to learn about fire science, fire behavior, tactics, and strategies. We had to learn about how to use different hose appliances and hoses and tools. And we had to learn all of those theory things before we could put it into use in practical sense.
So, there's a lot of academic learning in fire college?
I think there is a lot of learning to do. It's specific to the fire industry, but there's definitely a lot of learning that needs to be done.
What are some of the subjects you studied, and which subjects did you enjoy the most?
There was most of it was fire-based, but we did do some English writing skills as well as public speaking. But then most specifically in the fire, they broke down firefighting into sizable and methodical chunks. So we learned about vehicle extrication, or ground ladders, or hoses, hose streams, different appliances or tools used for the hose streams, ventilation and ventilation techniques, pumping with different pumps and pump apparatus, that type of stuff.
What does the out-of-classroom training look like at fire college?
In my class, we had a class of 36. So to manage that large group, the training ground was broken up with various abilities or scenarios that we could use for various different evolutions. So we would get broken up into 3 sizable chunks, and we would get exposed safely and methodically, slowly educating and getting our hands on practical experience while learning these new techniques to us.
And what kind of techniques did you guys learn?
Well, we took all the subjects I talked about before that was fire specific, and so ground ladders, for instance, we would learn how to take ground ladders off of a truck, ladder a building, put them back on a truck, walk with a ground ladder, what end goes up first, what end goes to the ground. There's a lot more than just rungs and steps on a ladder.
That is right at the basics, crawling before you walk, right there. If a candidate completes the course at the fire college, what certifications does he or she receive?
We get certified in the fire industry through the National Fire Protection Agency. It's a national governing body that provides certification and a standard. So we learn, so that an acronym for that is the NFPA, or the National Fire Protection Agency. So we learn 1001, which is basic firefighting. There's part 1 and part 2. We also get certified in 1051, which is wildland firefighting, 1081, which is industrial firefighting. And when I took my courses, I was learning emergency medical technician as well, or a medical component. Students nowadays can attend fire school and they can do a fire stream specific or an integrated approach that I took. So if they were doing fire specific, they would receive all the previous fire certifications I talked about. In addition, they would also receive NFPA 1002, which is advanced operations of apparatus, 1031, your fire service inspectors, and 1041, your fire service instructor.
What would make a firefighter or a student going in choose one or the other?
If they felt they had a certain department that they wanted to go to or apply to and eventually try and become a full-time member of that department, they might choose specific courses that was more how that department functions. So if there are various departments in this province of Alberta, as well across the country, that are integrated, that they run ambulance and fire. Others do co-response, where they co-respond. They do mainly fire, but they co-respond with ambulance, and others are just simply fire.
I know we're going back a long ways now, 14 years, I guess, since you've been in college, but what is the biggest lesson you learned at the college?
Probably one of the most surprising things I learned was that a firefighter has to be a jack of all trades. You don't necessarily have to be a master of any, but you have to know how to do everything. You have to be a part electrician, a part mechanic, a part framer or construction guy. You have to be a problem solver. And fire services and municipalities are looking for someone that's well-rounded and well-versed and knows a lot about everything, but not necessarily a master or a journeyman of one specific thing.
Thank you very much. Now, are there any stories from college that you can share with us today?
There's a lot of stories from college. One that stands out the most for me is we were doing advanced pumping operations. So we had various pumps throughout the training ground, and we were doing relay pumping and pumping in pressure or pumping in volume. And it was, so I took my course, it was January to November. Those are the months that I attended. And we were doing pumping right in the heart of the summer. So it was very warm out. And of course, when you're flowing large volumes of water, water streams tend to get diverted from where they're supposed to go, and you start hitting your other classmates, and it's turned into a very large water fight. Myself and another classmate, we took that water fight a little further, and we ended up doing a little bit of wrestling, and we ended up in the retention pond. And the instructors were standing nearby and let us carry on until we were finished, and we got out of the retention pond, and they all laughed and had a chuckle, and then said, "Okay, now do some push-ups."
Thank you, Scott. Now, why did you choose to apply for a firefighter position at the Medicine Fire Service?
When I finished school, I considered myself almost a professional recruiter. I applied at any and every department that was hiring across Western Canada, and I traveled to all those places to enter into their recruitment process. Medicine Hat was also a municipality that was hiring firefighters, and so I put my application in. Medicine Hat was the home where I called home. My mom had moved here many years before that, and being a student and basically a mature adult, I didn't really have a home, but I called that my home base. So when Medicine Hat opened up their opportunity to apply, that's why I applied here.
That's wonderful. Got your dream job right away. Now, what is one of the things that surprised you when you first joined the fire service?
When I left fire school, I wasn't sure exactly where I wanted to work. I didn't have one particular municipality that I wanted to work in, but I thought larger departments would offer a better suite of services that would lend itself to be more active and more exposure, more. It's not a chase of adrenaline, but it's an opportunity to use everything you've learned and put it into practice. When I started with Medicine Hat, I wasn't sure that Medicine Hat had that to offer, but Medicine Hat was my first employment opportunity, so that's why I started it. I soon and quickly learned that the City of Medicine Hat, in a smaller department, was a better application and a better opportunity to use all of our skills that we learned. In the larger departments, they're mainly and most prominently more specialized. So you use one set of skills more often than others. But in Medicine Hat, there isn't as many firefighters, and we're not as large as large centers. So we have to use and call upon all of our knowledge and training when we're responding to incidences.
So when the firefighter returns from a fire, what cleanup and maintenance must be done?
Well, we clean up and maintain all of the equipment that we use at the fire. And the reason we do that is one, a lot of stuff gets damaged or broken when we use it at fires. We're using it in not necessarily the most best visibility or the most cleanest environment. So things are thoroughly inspected and tested if they were broken or still have good integrity, as well as they get cleaned because being exposed to carcinogens and the toxins of fires repetitively over a career can have harmful effects on our health as firefighters. And so the better that we can clean them and keep our tools and equipment free of toxins as best as we can, it's just better for our overall health.
Other than ground ladders, can you please describe a couple of the appliances you might use at a fire, and then what you'd use it for maybe, and how you would clean that product?
Sure, we use fire service axes, which is it's like a regular axe, but it has a pick on the other end. Drywall hooks, chainsaws, ropes. We can use different hose appliances, and we use those tools so they are, for example, a drywall hook is exactly what it might sound like. It's a very aggressive-looking tool that you would to help pull down drywall to expose extension of fire, either in void spaces of walls or roofs or floor joists.
Thank you, Scott. What is one thing that you have learned since being with the fire service?
That fighting fires is probably the lowest probability of what we actually do every day. The prevalence of fires is less and less the further we go on into the future, through prevention and education, as well as standards of building construction and products that go inside of buildings. The prevalence of fire is less and less. So we use our other suite of services, or the knowledge that we gained in our schooling, as well as after we get on the department, and we do business inspections or commercial business inspections throughout the community. We do public education opportunities in schools, as well as seniors and other special interest groups. We have many schools, and some of those special interest groups come to our fire halls and we give tours. And besides that, we'll spend a lot of time on maintenance. So we maintain our equipment routinely. Each day we're assigned to do weekly maintenance on our equipment, as well as training. A heavy component of our job is comprised of training. So if we can't get our experiences and our practical application through live training, or live emergency incidents, then we'll have to do it through training.
I imagine that being on scene at a fire ground could be quite exhausting. So what guidelines and support does the fire service give to its members to help them stay in shape?
Here at Medicine Hat, our administration has provided a standard operating guideline where we're to have 60 minutes of exercise per day that we're on duty. They're very supportive in that they allow us the time to do that, and as well as they provide the equipment and a space to perform that function.
So what is your weekly exercise regime?
I try and do that 60 minutes of exercise when I'm on duty with my crew. So that, one, it builds bonding between the crew, and it maintains some continuity and contact with your crew members. And it's difficult as you introduced me as a lieutenant, so I'm in an introductory role as an officer. So I'm learning the officer roles, and there's a lot of office components and computer work that goes along with being an officer that I was unaware of. So trying to balance that. But this stage in my life, outside of work, I have 3 very young children, and they comprise a lot of my time. So as odd as it sounds, my kids are my exercise regime at this time.
So sitting in Station 2 here, you get kind of nostalgic with this old fire truck behind us and everything. So what memories or funny stories can you share about Fire Station number 2, this one on Dunmore Road?
This station will always hold a special place in our heart. It's a very quaint and cozy fire station. It feels like a home. There was only 4 members present at this fire hall, and it felt very quaint. It's submersed in a part of the community that's comprised mainly of the businesses and restaurants that service to the city of Medicine Hat. And so the opportunity to frequent restaurants such as Dairy Queen and get a nice, cool ice cream treat on a warm summer evening is definitely a prominent memory. And the ability to watch the old cars line up at A&W and cruise up and down Dunmore Road, and just to watch the community live that we work and live in.
So what have you enjoyed most about being at the Medicine Hat Fire Service?
I think what I've enjoyed the most is the ability to practice what I was taught to do. We're able to apply absolutely what we've learned in school, and we continue to do and learn and train, and we put it into action. And I think that the ability to serve this community and be a benefit to the community is probably one of the most proudest things a person can do.
Before I close, Scott, can you please give me your thoughts on being a firefighter?
I think being a firefighter is the best job in the world. That's how I view it, and that's how I tell everybody. Some people are surprised that that's my answer, and they think that being a firefighter wouldn't be their best job. It's not that firefighting is better than other jobs. It's that a firefighter works at a job that they think is the best, and that's why they chose to do it.
Scott, thanks for taking part of this program.
Thank you, Jason. My pleasure.
To find out more about the history of Medicine Hat Fire Service, check out or look through a history book titled 100 Years of Dedication and Service, available at the Medicine Hat Public Library and the Esplanade Archives. If you have any questions about the fire safety, please call 403-529-8282 or go online to www.medicinat.ca. I hope you enjoyed this program, and thank you for watching.